So, without further ado, I introduce you to our host, Rebecca Kimber. She's the co founder of Create, a carbon neutral website builder. I've seen what she's got ahead for us today, and it's really exciting. I think it's really apt. It's really focusing on why you need a website to work effectively, but importantly, how as well. So, she's going to share some tools and tricks of the trade too. This is how you connect with Rebecca. She will share her slides in our Slack channel as well. So you've got that reference point. And of course, you'll be able to find it in the members resource library as well. So Rebecca, over to you.
Thanks very much, Beth. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna start sharing my screen quickly. Here we go. Okay, so I was just saying to Beth that I built I'm just gonna work out where I'm gonna put everyone so they're not off the way. So I've built a demonstration website to kind of run through what I'm talking about. And I'm gonna first off just go through some slides about the sort of the practical sort of side and the planning of the website to start with, and then talk about how we've put it into practice here so that you can see how that all comes together and that works. So I'm just gonna present the slides. Oh, I'm way ahead. Right, sorry. Technical problems. Right, okay, so how to get more from your website. So the main thing that people tend to forget is that your website has an objective. And, you need to really be clear about what that purpose is. So to make it work best for you, it should have one, maybe two objectives that you're very clear on and that are very clearly displayed to customers. Because if you've got too many things going on, people aren't going to know what to do and they're going to very quickly leave. So planning is always part of what makes a website really successful. And yeah, having a good think about that is important. And the other thing to think about is who your best customers are. So, why do customers like you? Why do you like them? What interests do they like? What are they coming to the website for? And what problem do you solve for them? Because everybody isn't your best customer. And having a really good idea about who that customer is and those customer personas helps you to make the creative decisions and the messaging decisions that you're going to show on your website. And finally, your website appeal. So once you know who those super customers are, thinking about including photos of those people, because whenever you look at advertising, you can tell who they're advertising to based on the people that are in the adverts. Do they look like you? You can make a very quick subliminal and psychological connection with people when you're showing pictures of the people themselves. How you convey your purpose for your design, how you make customers feel safe and what it is you're talking about, and the sorts of things that you can do through imagery to evoke specific emotions. And of course, what does life look like after they've been introduced to the product or service that you're doing? How are you going to make it for them? What are they're going to be imagining what it's going to look like for them afterwards, after you've done the service or they bought the product. And so really showing them that and being very visual with your website appeal. So that's about imagery. And then you've got content. So showcasing what you sell, you make, you do, telling your story, conveying who you are, really tying that in with testimonials from real people who've used your products or your services and making sure it's up to date. There's really nothing that will more quickly get people out the door than some ancient blog posts or a bit of news or an old event, or even like copyright 2012 on the bottom of your website. It's an instant indicator that you're not current and potentially maybe you're not even doing what you're saying you're doing now, because it's not in the here and now from what you're displaying. And it's really quick to get your website get out of date. And we're all guilty of being really busy doing the work, talking to clients, and we forget, that our website is there running in the background all the time, and it's going slowly out of date and a little bit stale. So making it part of the everyday marketing that you do is really important, and you'll get more from it as well if it's fresh. So putting it into practice, what I've done is I've made some slides here of the site I'm going to show you, but I'm going to send these around later so that you've got some references for things that we've talked about and you can get those visual cues, because I'm actually going to show you it live. So I'm just going to work out how to leave Canva. Great, okay. And I'm going to take you across the site that I've built. So the site that I've built to show you the sorts of ways that you should bring everything together is for a garden designer, and they're a garden designer focused on sustainability. And and the environment, and thinking about their impact. So they're quite niche, and that's not to put people off who love their garden designs, but it's something that they can obviously cater for in a more specific way, that they're talking to through rather. So the first thing that we've got going on is obviously something quite aspirational. It's impactful. It's above the fold. So the fold is this area here at the top, which most people are going to be, that's the first thing they're going to see on the screen. And lots of people have heard those stats. You've got 3 seconds to grab someone's attention before they're off. They haven't connected with you. And this is what that's about, making a statement and making that personal connection with someone where they're going to go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I'll read on, I'll look at some more things. And so that kind of, that theme continues. And I was just saying to Beth, the pictures are really lovely. They're free stock photography. It took me ages to find some pictures that I thought all went together in a kind of way that would feel like it was sort of Brighton stock, free stocks, very Americanized and, very international in some ways. So if I was the actual designer here, the garden designer, I'd obviously have pictures of my own things. People can tell stuff that's stock, they can tell stuff that's not real. And, there's nothing like an investment in great photography. Great photography can make or break your website. It really can. It is making most of the impression. Lots of people don't read the content that you've got on the site. They're looking at the pictures and they might go through and they'll skim some bits and pieces and see what connects with them. But most people aren't reading reams and reams of text, which is why, we're presenting it here with, something really interesting to look at. And then, some text that's using words, like award-winning, and really connecting to people and trying to talk through the things. And I've made this all up, so obviously don't judge it too much, but it's just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that you would have. We've got links through to view the gardens, because there's 2 ways that people are going to navigate your website. They're either going to kind of go all the way down the journey of your homepage, or they're going to go, oh, actually, I want to just look at the gardens, or I want to see pricing. And so the menu that we've got up here, that's a really important way to guide people immediately to what they want to see, and to make it clear what kind of information you've got on your website. We've got a kind of nice quote in here as another bit of connection, because I think particularly for this design, if when you're a gardener, you're really connecting with people on a very emotional and tangible basis. It's very much about what it looks and the experience. So we've used those kinds of things to give people that extra connection. And again, a very similar block to the one above, but reversed. So we're giving them some more information, some more practical information, let's say, about the service that we're providing, but we're using the same formats, because the brain, there's lots of design around the psychology, there's lots of psychology around design, and you can apply a lot of that to website design. So symmetry, our brains, we really love symmetry and space, and people get very caught up in not having a lot of space around the things that they're displaying, but actually the space allows the things to be front and center and to breathe. And so you can see here that we're reusing the thing from above, but in a different way to talk about something else. And that means that you've got continuity consistently through the site. We're using the same fonts, we're using the same heading sizes, we're using the same styles. And that helps to tie everything together as you look at it as a whole. It's really important that you've got that continuity. If you jump from one page to another that's full of other fonts and different kinds of layouts, people are going to go, oh, right, okay, and they're going to need to refocus. So you can allow people to absorb a lot more of the website and the information if you're displaying it in a way that feels like it's all part of the journey, and it's all similar, and it all ties together. That's what's really important about design. And then, being really clear about the call to action. The objective here for this site is book your free design consultation, and considering at what point in the journey here that, the visitor might be ready to start thinking about that. And they might not be ready at this point here, but you're telling them about it, So we do this, it's here, you're starting to think about it, you're getting to know us. We do this thing, it's free, get in touch. And it's just a nice soft touch point without being too salesy, and then backed up with testimonials. we have a real problem, you know, in the UK, asking for people to give us testimonials. It's awkward. People giving the testimonials aren't sure what to write, but the power of people saying something for you, it's just enormous. And when they're real testimonials, and people can connect to them, and they can connect to them in a way that potentially they won't connect to your text. So that's why that's important, and we've put that there beneath the book a free consultation as that extra step of reassurance. But it could go above. You know, it's about the product that you're selling, the service that you're selling, and that journey that you're making for the customer. And then we've got a really nice sort of splash picture here, just for that extra impact, that extra, like, this is what it could be like for you, followed by get in touch. And get in touch is really important. A phone number on your website can increase the number of people that are likely to feel like you're real, likely to feel like you're trustworthy, things like your address, and they're much, much more likely to make that interaction. They might not pick up the phone and talk to you, but it's just there. And that extra reassurance that it is there, it means that the conversion is much more likely. But thinking about how you want them to get in touch with you, because you might not want them to call, you might want them to fill in a form that looks like this, you might want them to get in touch with you on social media. It's important that you make those decisions. You can have other ways for people to contact you, but what's the primary way you actually want them to contact you? Because you can guide them through design, and you can tell them the steps you want them to take, but you need to be clear about it. Too much stuff going on. I haven't got any social profiles on here. Lots of people stick them all in the head of their website, but I tend to put them down the bottom, because actually someone just got here. Do you want them going off to your Instagram? Your Instagram's meant to bring people to your website, not take them away. It's something to do at the point where maybe they're not sure that they're going to actually reach out and do the objective and, the thing to do next. It's like, okay, well, if you're not quite sure about it, why don't you connect with us on social media? The number of websites you go to now where you've got MailChimp and it's an immediate pop-up in your face. Right? But I just got here. Do you think I want to immediately subscribe to your newsletter? It's just such a jarring experience when your site is a pitch. It's a pitch. It's like going on a date and going, do you want to go home now? It's too soon. It's too soon in the relationship. And the whole of the website is about building a relationship. And a little bit of nature there, just to tie it back in again, because like I said, you people don't read. And so about, again, we're following that theme. We've got that big impact piece at the beginning, and it might be you don't want to have such a big impact piece, but you want to be very clear about what you're selling. We've gone very aspirational here because we're likely to be a business that is getting a lot of our business from referrals. So people are going to have heard of us from somebody else. So they're coming and we're making a statement. We're saying we're instantly connecting with them. Whereas actually, if you're someone who's thinking about SEO, you might not want to do it like this, because you need to get your keywords in there, and you need to be thinking about, I'm doing different marketing, but it should still be aspirational, even if it needs to be more obvious what it is that you're selling. And so, so then we've got a little bit about tailoring for you, talking about the services in a way that I would probably build the site out further to have a page for every type of service, with case studies and more information and more testimonials. And at every stage we're, connecting people with the book a free consultation. Meet the people. This is such an important point. So many people are hiding behind a website, but people do buy from people. And if you're not there talking about you, I'm guilty of it. There's some pages about us. They're way back down in the menu somewhere. We should probably be front and center, because people often are buying from our team. They're buying from us. We're local. We've got account managers. You get a named person to help you with things. We're very, very high profile in our Facebook community, talking to people, and people do, they make that connection. And if you're going to be buying a service like this, you do want to be front and center, because you're selling you, and you're selling your skills and your expertise. And so, you do want the products to do the talking, and the finish of what someone's going to get to be, really important, but they're also going to be working with you. So it's really important. And we've, reiterated that through the quotes. The quotes talk about the people that have done the business, because that shows that there's been that personal connection between the customer and the service provider. And again, just reiterating the call to action. There's one call to action. It's really clear what we want people to do. But we're not making it difficult. If you want to contact us, it's all there, and there's some more information about that. So yeah, and again, testimonials with the contact page, that additional reassurance. They're really simple things, and you can see that it's quite repetitive when I'm explaining it to you and breaking it down for you, but it would probably over time become a much bigger site with a lot of different pieces of project work and a lot of different case studies, so that if you do want those things, you can see them. But it would also become a reference point for the garden designer, so they could say, oh, take a look at this project on the website, take a look at this project, this fits you really well. And so you're almost creating your own resource to help you to answer your customers' questions, instead of having a brochure. This is your brochure. And again, doing that with the garden. So we've just followed that whole theme through all the time, so you're still on the same site, you're connected to it, and it's talking in the same themes, showing you the same things. These would be the projects that I'm talking about. So you'd be clicking through, looking at that secret garden in Hurstpit Point. Oh, that's the one, I like that one. It's showing you that you can find something that you like, and looking in more detail at that. And again, book your free design consultation. And again, the repeated, this is a slightly different one, goes all the way across, but a very repeated style from the first part. So that everything ties together. Because what happens over time is your website starts, oh, I'll add that on. Oh, I'm doing this now, I'll stick this in. But you don't go back to the plan, especially with builders like ours, where it's really easy to do that. It's easy, I'll just load it up, put some new stuff in, and you can very quickly end up with something that isn't really on point anymore as it evolves over time. And coming back regularly to the site and making a review and saying, have I got out of touch? Is it still clear? Is really important. So I thought I would just show you some of the things that people might do that you don't want to do in regards to things like symmetry. So, you've got some images and they're all different sizes, and you see this all over the web where people are DIY building and they don't really know how to make those images all the same size. But so they sit there on the page with a square one and a long one and a portrait one, and it doesn't go. It's not, if you had a professional site, that would never happen. And so with our tool, for instance, I can make them all squares. They're all instantly squares. I can move them around in the boxes, but you could crop them as well. You could take something like Canva that I've just made the presentation in, make yourself square canvas, put the picture on it, and then upload it. But thinking about how you're going to use the images and which ones go together is really important. And again, if you're having square images on this page, you should have square images on another page, so that you're not, when you're using this style for the page, you should do that. And things like the fact that, well, I'm going to need to move you to do this over the other side. My buttons don't feel like they're quite so aligned to how I've got my content here, so I just want to change those to be centered. Because actually this page and the way that I'm putting things together, it's much more of a sort of centered, a curved kind of feeling that, that's representative of the business that we are, and thinking about how those things all tie together. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like where I'm going. Maybe it's a good time to have some questions or ask some things, because I've obviously talked about quite a lot of things. Is there anything, it feels like I should go into, is there anything really specific that you might like to know?
That'd be a really great use of time, Rebecca. Thank you. And it's really great for me, at least, to see. And by the way, everyone, she's been very modest here. She created this website last night for the purpose of this session. I just want to put that out there. It's incredible work. For me, it's really interesting to see such simple details making a big impact, and that people don't realize that. One thing I've noticed in the sort of the brand world at the moment is that people are using different language. They've gone quite flowery with things. So I'd love to start things off with the question about language on a website. Is it more effective to use flowery, flamboyant, expressive language, or just tell it like it is and keep it simple, in your opinion?
Well, that goes completely back to who your super customer is.
Yeah.
Who's the person that you're really targeting, and what sort of language do they like? But I would definitely consider pulling back on the flowery language, because people just don't read stuff. And you see so often people writing a website for themselves, but they don't think about the bigger picture, and they don't think about how someone else is going to interpret that. They've written a bunch of stuff because they're really close to it and they understand what they're talking about. But sometimes things are quite complex. I mean, even I go to events and I say, oh, we do this, it's like this, until I start to say, oh, it's like Squarespace, or it's like Wix. People are like, oh, you're an agency. I'm like, no, we're not. And I've been quite articulate about what I'm doing, but people still, with a concept like ours, there are still people that haven't heard that you can do your own website in the way that, in the way that we're providing. Oh, I need a web designer for that. They don't realize it's actually accessible. So it needs to be really clear, at least at the start of the site, what it is that you do, and make that connection. Yeah.
That's really useful, thank you. And I love what you said at the start about actually knowing why you're doing it and having clear objectives to it.
Yeah.
Helen's got a question.
Then they say that you have different websites and platforms for different things. So you might have one website's like your front of house, this is what I do, call me, and that kind of stuff. And then you would have a second one which was about, say, a landing page that takes you to a course or the particular thing that you're running at the moment. And then again, the shop element can be separate, and then another area that's memberships. So that sounds quite fragmented. Although I get, from now I've looked around, that different packages do offer some things that, like Kajabi, might look pretty, but the membership site's a bit pants. Yeah. So I can see. So what do you think? Does it need that fragmentation, or?
I think that depends on whether all those things are for different people. Yeah. If all those things are for the same people, then it all wants to be brought together at least in a way that they can understand it. I mean, if you've got a membership area, there's no harm in that membership area being, on a separate website that's just for that membership thing, as long as you're making it clear how you get there. Our website has a different URL to our app, and they'll open in different windows. You can't access the app from in the website, but people will bookmark the app because they're our customers and they're going there regularly. So if they're your members, they'll know where that thing is, but it's signposting the new people. But I would bring it all together or at least try to bring it all together, which is tricky because you've got lots of different objectives then going on. So you want a homepage that talks about the different projects or facilities that you have and the services, because really they're services, aren't they? They're garden designers here. They've got 3 services. We do consultation, we do design, we can do garden upkeep. They are all different things for slightly different people. Which is what you're talking about having. It's just that they feel much more fragmented because you're not offering it in one go. So people are going to want to do different things at different stages. And that's about creating a structure at the start that talks about different things, but then guides them into maybe slightly different sections of the website, which you could do with drop-down menus. You could have your products at the top and other services and things like that, so that you're connecting it but keeping it fairly straightforward. Yeah, there's a user journey there to consider.
Thank you, Rebecca. Lawrence has asked if mobile phone website versions are something you can help with. So Lawrence, you're welcome to ask Rebecca directly if you want to expand.
Yeah, hi. That was super interesting, by the way, so thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose I'm aware that obviously a lot of people are accessing websites via their phones now. Yep. And I'm, to be honest, slightly going off the actual just what the session's about, but I'm really liking your website and Create, which just seems great. I'm just wondering, can it help with those mobile phone sites as well?
So what we do is we do responsive design. So if I just exit that, I will show you, because yeah, customers don't know necessarily how to do responsive design, but in our design area here, so this is sort of like where you pick your template, you can see what it's going to look like on mobile, and you can see what it's going to look like if I go to there. So there's mobile, and you know, I was talking to a lady the other day about, can I build it all in mobile view, because most of my customers are going to be coming from social media, and I was like, yeah, sure, if you come here and you can edit it, because yeah, understanding your audience. So are you like her, where your audience is all going to be coming through your social media posts? That's going to be your main marketing. So they're very likely to be on their mobiles. Are they young? Are they older clientele? What sort of things are they going to be using? What are the devices? And you can get that information from Google Analytics. So once you've got up and running, or if you're an existing business, you can go to your Google Analytics information and you can see what devices they're using. And that will give you an idea about how you should be building it. Everybody's talking about building mobile first, and you should definitely do that and look at the mobile version of the site. It's really important. It's overtaken this site, 65% now mobile. But depending on your customers, they might not make that buying decision on mobile. They might be making the buying decision on their desktop. And it's about understanding the data that you have from Google Analytics to see, you know, what point do those people take the goals? Is it that loads of people come on mobile but they don't buy? So why don't they buy? And understanding, is there a way I can make them buy? Or is it just that actually that's just part of their visits to me to get to the point where they go, oh, when I'm at home later, I'll look at this properly on my computer, or that's where I do X. So when I'm doing X, I'll check it out then. But basically, the way that you're dragging the blocks on, our system's it just decides for you. So that's the image at the top, the text underneath, and at some point we'll work out ways where you can sort of say, actually, I want to have it look like that on desktop, but I want to have it around the other way on mobile. But it's you know, it's sort of getting there. It's work in progress. So you can see there, you can edit it as you go, and you can look through and you can see how it's looking. I think my husband and I were having a discussion about this last night, because he was like, it's too long. So I had to take loads of it back out again and put it onto different pages, because we were talking about just to talk briefly about the environmental impact of your website. You know, there's a discussion going on. Is there a bigger environmental impact if you build one big page and that one big page is all that loads, or is it better to have lots of smaller pages where, you know, you've got the header sort of information and the main code repeating itself to load the pages? And you know, that's a debate that I think is going to go on for a while. But we talked about the fact that actually maybe it's better to have a slightly shorter page than we might have had previously, because you know, I've got quite a lot of big images in there, for instance, and there's going to be an implication to your page speed. And on a mobile in particular, if you've got quite a lot of content on your homepage, it can be a very long page. So thinking about, you know, how much is someone scrolling through before they get the call to action is, you know, a really important part of mobile design. But yeah, definitely think about it, and then use your data to decide how important it is. Because it's very hard to design something for everything that's perfect, especially if you're doing like this, where we're trying to take some of the decisions and the display out of it for you. Yeah.
That's great, thank you.
That's all right.
I'd find it really useful to, would it be all right to have a bit of a walkthrough, Create, and how it works, if we were all clients, for example?
Sure. So we've got three main areas of Create. We've got design, where you're choosing the way that it looks. We've got content, where you're sort of building all your page structure and you're putting your pages in. And then the store, so you can run a store with us. You can sell digital products, you can sell physical products. It's got a comprehensive store. And then you've got publish here, and we've got a big support area as well. So basically, thinking about it. It's all right, don't worry. So in the design area here, we have a really big range of templates. And this template, you can actually see it here. This is called Canvas. This template looks nothing like what Canvas started off like. But it just shows you how much you can transform something. I wanted something that was full width rather than fixed. And so you get to know the different templates, but you can come in and choose a starting point for your site and then build from there. You can switch it out. I could change my template and it would take on all the new styling. So it's a really nice, quick way to just get updated and start a fresh look. And then there's all sorts of different options within that. So I can completely change. It's always a bit slower. I can completely change my header. So if I wanted to, having one with the phone number up here, if that's my main call to action, would be something that I would, seriously consider doing. And so you can see how quickly you can customize it. And there's lots of different options. Just going to change that back. And then within that, you've got all sorts of customization to change all the colors that you're using on the site, to create custom palettes. So this section at the top here, I've actually made a custom palette because I want it to be very slightly different from the rest of the website. But you can do cool things like that with these call to action. So I could have this a completely different standout color to the rest of my color scheme by using a custom palette. And that's a really nice way to highlight, like for instance, if you had a sale when you're a store, you have some really big red bits because people expect you to see sale, but actually the rest of your site most of the time is pale and beige and taking on the colors of your pictures and your brand. So that's a design area, and you can edit your content in here as well. That's what I was just doing there. So you just, you're choosing your blocks. Just taking a minute. You're just, you're typing your content in. It's very, very visual, and exactly what you can see it looks like is what it's going to look like when you've got it on your published site. I'm just going to move to content because it just over Zoom, it's going to work a little bit better. It's not loading everything in at once. And I'll show you how well, I know Beth obviously just said I built it last night, and I did spend quite a lot of time on it, but more of it, the time was spent on the actual content that I wanted rather than the build itself, because what's really nice about Create is that it's structured in a way that means that you can't get the aesthetics wrong, because we're dealing with the spacing, we're dealing with the padding, we're dealing with how things align, and we're making sure it all aligns the same way. So it is a bit tighter than maybe some of the other builders might be, but it's doing everything for you. So you can see here, we've got all sorts of different blocks here. These are just the popular ones. So, if I want to have a map on there, I'm just going to drag my map on, and there's my map. And obviously then I'll just edit it and say where I was, and it will update it to show where I am. If I wanted to have some FAQs, because my customers have got some questions they keep asking me, and this is a really brilliant way to, answer those. I'll pop them above my contact form because, they're probably always emailing me about the same thing. So if I can answer that publicly, why not? That makes my website even more useful, doesn't it? So, how long will it take? How long will it take? Probably a question people ask about garden design, isn't it? And then the gardener's going to say, well, depends on the size of the job. It depends. They'd probably be slightly more useful than that, but it would be that sort of thing. And so those then become, opening and closing little sections that people can have, and thinking about where they sit in that journey again, which is why I've just popped them on there. But that's, the planning. I can't stress enough how important the planning is. People don't think they can build their own website because they've gone on Google and gone, I want to build my own website, and up comes a service like ours, and they go on there, and all of a sudden they're hit with all these options and blank pages. And without the plan, without, you know, drawing out what it looks like, thinking about the journey, writing your content, considering your imagery, you'll come on and feel like, well, overwhelmed a lot of the time. It's so important to know what you want to build, and then maybe potentially adapt that slightly to the tool you choose to use. But if you don't know what you want to build and you're suddenly with a blank page, it can be quite daunting. So, you know, always plan it. That would be my biggest takeaway for this. Just plan it first. You'll get so much more out of it. So yeah.
And I love that. I'm going to quote you on that, and it's going to go across our entire social media channels, if that's all right. Always plan.
Always plan it, you know, and then maybe I want to make some points with some nice icons, so I might pop those up there, and you can just pick a different icon you want, because actually I'm not about padlocks, maybe I'm about stars, or maybe I'm about champagne glasses, and just done. And you know, and then you're just typing in what you want to have, and you can see how quickly it's all going to come together. And if I just sort of drag it across, you can see how it's going to, you know, how it's going to respond down to different devices, so down to mobile, and you can have a look and you can see. So you can constantly be kind of coming backwards and forwards as you're building and looking at what that experience is you're building. So like that, bring it back out again. Where's it gone? Come on, my computer needs to catch up. There it is. So, and then I can say, well, actually, I only want to have 2. I don't want 3. And now they're sort of in the middle. So if I just change my layout, I can have them like that. And so you can see that these are called blocks. That's how we describe them. You know, they're the building blocks of your website. You choose the different blocks that you want, and then think about, you know, we're structuring them for you. So are you doing sort of 2s, 4s, 3s? And everything will then, you know, up and down the page, it will match. And that's all about that symmetry and that nice journey for people, where everything looks neat and it looks organized, and it looks exactly how people expect it to look, with the right spacing. But yeah, it makes it fast. And that's what's quite exciting about the tool.
It's incredible. I can see lots of nods, like agreeing with me. It's such an amazing tool. I know of your work, Rebecca, of course, being in the club, but to see it and how it works, you're genius.
It's not down to me really, it's down to the team, but I'm often the person, after I built this, I was like, oh, it would be really good if it did that. It would be really good if we could just make it do this too. So it's a constantly expanding project. We've got some really cool new block filters coming out shortly, and being able to swap blocks in and out with other blocks that have the same kinds of things going on, which are going to be a really exciting way for people to expand things.
I love it. It's so intelligent, and I can see that it predicts you can see that it's designed on your audience's needs fully, which is obviously what you keep saying to us as well today. It's for them, isn't it, after all? So
yes.
yeah, we need to give them what they need.
It's 20 years of experience understanding that we're trying to help people build a website who've never built a website before. So it's just taking all the stuff out that they don't need and making it really, really visual, so that you can see exactly what you're going to get without having to know any code whatsoever.
Yeah.
And what could you show us the shop, please?
I can show you the shop. I might need to add one first. I don't want to save any of those things. Hold on, sorry, exit, discard it all. Go to the shop. I'm going to make one. So this is a shop. So you've got, basically it's a structure of categories and products. Adding products is really straightforward. So you're popping in your title, writing a short description. We've got a box here for longer text for information about your product, putting in your price, whether it's new or not, how much it weighs, all those kinds of things that, you know, you're going to want to put in related to products. We've got a really cool tool called Product Options, which means that you can, you know, if I was one of my other examples, I'll show you actually. Hold on. This is a site that we built for a different talk, and which we show to customers quite a lot as well, because there's nothing like seeing something in action to give you some inspiration as to how it's going to look for you. So this is the store. let me find one, the hat and scarf pattern that's got them on there. So here, you can see here, you can set up things where you can add, I'd like some pink wool to go with the pattern. I'd like some rainbow knitting needles. That adjusts the price. Add it through to the basket, checkout. And here you can see the checkout.
Right.
And you can obviously, you can set up your postage. Just go back. Oh.
Can you do some things like you can do, I think it's it with the drive cart, like they buy one thing and then you do a bit of a down sale.
Do a down sale.
So basically they've just bought a course, for example,
right.
And they're just about to go to the checkout and say, oh, and would you like some I don't know, it's a wellbeing course, would you like a pamper pack to go with it, you know? So they sell, it's like when the techniques, they sell you one thing, but you can add it like you just said, but you can also do just before the cart shuts another kind of plug, I guess.
It's really interesting you should say that. I was just having a conversation in our Facebook community group with some other ladies that were asking about that very thing. You know, can I do this add-on at the checkout? And I did have to say that you can't at the moment, but there are some other ways that you can do things like that. So we were talking about related products. So with that product, you can have other products here. I can't show you because I don't have any products to add to it, but you know, you can show some other products that people might be interested in. You can show those on the product page, and you can also show them at the checkout. But it's not quite that kind of disruptive sort of sale that we would, you know, that you're sort of talking about.
And that's okay because that's quite American. So, but if we could do it in that politer English way, where like they have just about got there, and we don't want to bother you too much, but there is something else that's quite connected that you might like.
Yes, definitely. And I think we were talking about doing it there at that stage for the product option. So for example, if you were selling a bracelet, you know, do you want to upgrade your gift bag? Do you want to buy a silver cleaning kit? And just adding those things in. So you're almost building a bundle of products, which is great for user experience, the customer's experience, because they're seeing really relevant things that you're providing to them all in one go, that they might want to choose from. But it's also good for you because it's an upsell. And, you know, instead of the customer having to go off and look for those things or not even knowing that you have them, they're right there for them to pick from. And we talked about there's another option for customer also bought. So if you've got lots of products and lots of sales, the system will work out what people are buying with those things and it'll start to show them. But I did say to one of the ladies, you know, you need to be really careful because she was talking about a limited edition, and you know, how much information does someone need to go and decide whether or not they need to buy that thing? You know, if it's like hey, get this and it's discounted and it's so heavily discounted, you're not even going to think about it. It's an extra £5, stick it in the basket. I kind of know you want it. It's different to, it's a £30 extra purchase. Do you want to go away from the checkout? Do you want to have a look at it? You know, thinking about, am I disrupting someone and they might end up abandoning the basket? Or, you know, is it a really quick win? And where does it sit? But yeah. And how well do they know me? And how well do they know the other things? Making a really big deal of those sorts of things at the start of the journey, at the, you know, there's a limited edition, here it is on my homepage, you can't miss it. It's absolutely everywhere on my website. It's really, really important. So they've already looked at it, they already know about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Beck. We've got one last question before we let you all crack on with your day from Lawrence. A little bit more about website sustainability. Lawrence, over to you.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it briefly about obviously the potential of how you lay out the website can have an impact. But I suppose I'm just wondering if you've got any advice for, and maybe tell us a bit more about the company of kind of how we can try and be conscious about sustainability when making a website.
Yeah, well, the first thing to look for obviously is the things that we've been doing in regards to considering what our impact is as a website provider. And I'm really keen on making sure that we're not having a detrimental impact you know, to the environment. And so we've been talking a lot about how we can do that and the ways that we can make sure that our business is greener. So we looked at all the suppliers that we use, and we made sure that the really main ones that we use for hosting are also green, so that we can say that, you know, the hosting that you're getting is green. but we also spent some time and some money working out, what the carbon footprint of our team was. And so we planted 40,000 trees for our birthday last year to offset our entire team's footprint for the last 19 years, which was pretty huge. And the team are really, really behind that, which is cool. And then the next things for me are looking at, all the kit that we've bought over the years and trying to not get too caught up in it, because I think that it's better to do something and it be slightly less accurate than do nothing at all, caught up in numbers and spreadsheets and trying to work out what it actually is. So looking at things we bought, what the carbon footprint of our MacBooks and the stuff that we've bought over the years and servers and stuff, trying to get some kind of idea for those things, and then buying more trees and carbon offset for that. But as we stand at the moment, we're paying every month carbon offsets and trees for the team, so that the team is carbon negative workforce. And soon I'm going to be adding trees to some of our plans as well, so customers can buy trees with their websites, which means that websites will be giving back more to the environment than they're taking. That's kind of the plan. But from the point of view of your website, the environmental impact really is that people using the websites aren't on renewable resources. They're not using renewable energy. And so your website can be having an impact for those people, because of the choices that they're making. So thinking about how many huge images you need, how long it takes to load, how much content you need to put on a single page about a single thing. There are some real movements towards very minimalist websites that have got very, very low carbon footprints when people use them. But what we're really keen on in regards to that, it's just making people aware of it, because when I've started this journey and I'm talking to people, they're not aware that the internet is having an impact on the environment. It's not tangible, it's happening somewhere else. And as an industry, we can lead the way and we can make the changes that are necessary. We're not aviation, and we can all be running on renewable resources, and the whole of the internet can be like that. There's then just the cost of the kit and the resources for the environmental cost of those kinds of things. But it's doable. It's doable in a big way. So that's what I'm kind of talking about a lot of the time, trying to get people to see it.
It's awesome. Yeah, thanks very much. I'm going to definitely get in contact with you, because as I said at the start, I'm just in the process of starting. I haven't actually launched it yet, and I'd love to be on a more kind of sustainable website. So I will definitely drop you a message after this.
Brilliant. Do that.
Thank you so much. I think that's the beauty of being in this club as well, isn't it? That that when you work with somebody in this community, that kind of sustainable, ethical choice is made for you, because we're all made up of the same values, really. Rebecca, that was incredible. Thank you so much. I always feel uplifted after these kinds of talks. Yeah, round of applause.